Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Ricknineg. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be looking at a really amazing film. It is called The Shining. This is a 1980 film starring Jack Nicholson, and let me tell you, I was in for a real treat. You know, I've always heard the speculation or just people saying, this is a great movie, you gotta watch it, but I mean, it's one of those things to hear something that's another thing to watch and experience. To me, movies are experiences. There's something that you enjoy, there's something that you watch, you take in, you analyze, and you think about later. Well, that is if they're really good movies. And let me tell you guys and gals, I have a lot to say about this movie. I'm not going to really give spoilers. I don't want to go into the story. But let me give you an idea of what this film is about. So this is a horror film, but what's interesting about it, in my opinion, it's very Hitchcock-esque. And what I mean by that, Hitchcock wasn't big into seeing violence in his films. It is present, but it is just a small minority of the entire movie. For example, Psycho, that murder scene, that was one of the few times you actually got to see it. You never really got to see the stabbings. You just got to see a lot of the different shots, just with the editing that he used, the music, all that stuff gave you this type of creepy fear, and that's kind of what they're trying to do with film like this, The Shining. Now let me tell you, it's one of these things, guys and gals, where it's like, where do I start? This is a 2.5-hour movie, close to 2.5-hour movie, so I didn't know what to expect. It is rather long, but I went into it kind of cold. Like, I knew the main premise, Jack Nicholson, and that's about it. You get to see him with this really good acting chops. So I'm going to show some clips here and there in this video, but again, nothing that really gives away the plot so much. Now, there's so many conspiracy theories. Even, I guess, the concept of conspiracy theory could have been said to have been started with this movie. Some people say that this movie is rich in symbolism, that it means something. Because let me tell you, I was watching this and I was like, I can't figure out what's going on. Meaning, I want to know the meaning behind this film. I did understand the movie throughout, but then there were things that happened that I was like, what? And it was really surprising. At times it was just very creepy. You had this gut feeling of, oh man, not disgust, because there's very little traditional violence, let's say. There's only really one scene almost at the end where it is fairly, but it's not excessively violent. It's necessary. It is not an overextension of that violence. So some people have said that this film represents that the missions to the moon were fake. That's what some people say. This is a film directed by Stanley Kubrick, and some people say that he directed all the moon landings, quote unquote. It was done on a Hollywood set. Some people say this is a protest to what Americans have done to Native Americans, and so forth, that this is a trope for hell. And I can keep going, and these are just theories, and I was kind of putting it together, and at some points I was like, I think I got this figured it out. Like, I'm smart enough, I can do this. And when I did, like, there was a wrench thrown in the system for the movie, and I was like, okay, this kind of throws a wrench in the system, but if I take that into consideration, let me keep thinking about it. I can figure this out. Boom, another wrench. So I don't know if one answer fits all. I would love to hear your comments down below. But let me just tell you, I want to go into the big elements of this movie. What I really enjoyed. That is the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere, the setting of this entire movie is what gives it its horror genre.
Tragedy we had up here during the winter of 1970? Well,
it's not a spooky haunted house, that's the thing. It's the size, it's the dimension of things. It's the music. Number one, the setting. Number two, the music.
I'm going to live in that hotel for the winter.
The music, along with the visuals of what is going on, in my opinion, is so well orchestrated and so well put together, almost obsessively, to the point of the music is telling you something's going to happen, and it draws it out, and it's like your emotions get tired and into it, and maybe nothing happens, and so you relax, and you're fine, and then there's another build-up. The movie just builds you up to this point where you're just like, what is going to happen? And then some things happen, they might shock you, and then something else may happen, and then you might be like, totally just thrown off. And then the movie gradually brings you in. This sounds so vague, but if you know this movie, if you watch this movie, hopefully this makes sense. Let me tell you, the little boy, the son of Jack Nicholson, I'll put his name down below, is amazing in this movie. I would even go as far as to say that he may even be a tad bit better than Nicholson. Nicholson was epic in this film. I mean, how could you top his performance? This little boy may have done it. When he has his alter ego, oh my gosh, this kid changes his voice, his mannerisms, and he's really young at the time of this film. And I don't think he acted much after this, but this boy was amazing. The wife was good, Jack Nicholson was amazing, but it was one of those things where I wanted to figure out what was going on. I was drawn into it. You become a Sherlock and you're like, this is done for a reason? Why? Like, you just start asking all these questions. And then with the idea, this is a very small concept in the movie, the fact that Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, is a writer. I think that has a lot to do with this movie. And tell me what you think. The fact that the subtitles, it's like 1 month later, Monday, and then it jumps to like Thursday. The subtitles are not on the bottom like subtitles should be, they're in the middle. And I don't know if that denotes some type of writing, and I don't know if you guys know what I'm trying to get at. But then, I don't know, then there's a wrench in the system. I may just have to make a video just on my theory about what I think about this movie in general. Like, the shots in this movie, I love when little Danny, of course his son, is riding around in his tricycle and the camera gets down really low, but it's a really nice action shot. And believe it or not, you get down on Danny's level, you get behind him. It's like a perspective, but you get to see him at the same time, and it feels like something is gonna jump out at you. It feels like, oh no, like you have that impending fear even though a kid is happily riding on a tricycle. This movie messes with your emotions. It really gets to you and you want to think like, what is going on? Stop getting in my head. But I think that's the purpose of this film. I hope you guys, this makes sense to you. This is probably the craziest review I've done because this movie, every time I try to put my thumb on it, it just escapes me. Can I say this? How many of you agree with me? Jack Nicholson's eyebrows are a character.
Isolation can of itself become a problem.
Like, I'm not even kidding. What he can do with his eyebrows and his facial expressions literally makes him one of the greatest actors of all time. Like, I'm not even kidding. He could do stuff with his face that I didn't think possible. To terrify you, to unsettle you, to disturb you, to tell you that something is going to happen, to show you that something's not right up here. All this stuff he can do with just little movements of his face. There's a lot of red, there's a lot of colors of red that are in this movie. The elevator scene with the blood is just crazy, but then there's also a lot of blues, a lot of red and blue clothing. Reminded me of Mario. But it was just like, what is going on with these colors? They mean something. I kind of have my own theories, which I should make a video about, but I want to know what you think. Then the final scene of this movie. Incredible. It just turns everything upside down, and it makes you think, what in the world? It almost makes you think, are you insane? Like, you, the viewer. And I think that's very interesting. I don't know if anyone has ever said that. Maybe not. It just came to me. But the idea of, I think you're the crazy one. Because there is a logic, but it is just so out of place. And you want to make sense of it all. And so maybe like, should I make sense of it all? I have to tell you, I did give this film a grade when I watched it. And I think the longer has passed since I've seen the film. It's only been about a week and a half. I usually like to watch them fresh, but this movie, I really need some time. I liked it more. I want to watch it again type thing. And so I'm going to give this movie an A. I think this movie deserves the best grade I could give it. It builds, the pacing is awesome. It is a bit slow, but it is purposeful. There's a reason for it. I've talked about pacing before, and I think they did a really good job with the pacing in this movie. There's a purpose for it. You want it to go at that pace. I think Stanley Kubrick did an amazing job with that. The visuals, the acting, I can keep going on and on. The music, oh my gosh, the music. It all came together. And that is a film that I want to watch over and over again. I don't know if it became my favorite. I may have to watch it again, but let me tell you, this movie was great. Let me know what you think if you've seen it. If you haven't, do yourself a favor and watch it. I'm not really a horror type. I don't really like horror movies that much. Like, I'm not into it. I like action comedies and things like that. But I knew that this was like a classic and I had to, and then watching it I was like, oh my goodness, this is part of cinema history. So let me know what you think. We'll see you next time, guys and gals. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for all of you that have subscribed. We'll see you next time, and don't forget, be hopeful.